A dark grey blanket of clouds covered the sky, drifting slowly in the cool breeze of autumn. The shuffling of brittle leaves rung out across the sky. Tanner took a deep breath of the fresh air, sighing as the wonderful scent of fall filled his lungs. Brilliant beams of warm sunlight streamed through his outstretched fingers. The breeze swept through his unkempt hair, settling it in front of his eyes. He swept the tufts to the side with his hand. Reaching into his jacket pocket, Tanner pulled out a basic candy bar, crinkling the wrapper as he opened it. The leaves scattered across the wooded path crunched beneath his feet as Tanner strolled through the all-too-familiar forest. It was a trek he made at the beginning of every month. It was a ritual of sorts, a way for him to decompress from the stress of life. Tanner nibbled on his candy bar as the trees thickened around him. The sounds of chimes rung out, enveloping him in a warmth of familiarity. The pixies of the forest always retreated deep into the woods during the cold months, with November being the latest he ever heard the chimes ring. The sounds of a small stream entered into the melody of sounds. Tanner turned off of the path, walking along the creek. Brittle stalks of grass and greens broke underfoot as he trudged into the shadows. The chimes faded as he got farther from the path, leading to an almost eerie silence. The breeze that shook the trees did not reach so far into the area, hardly whispering past the topmost branches. Sweeping a low-hanging branch out of the way, Tanner stepped foot into a large glade. In the center stood a large stone pointing up into the sky. Small beams of sunlight managed to make their way past the treetops, gently landing on the face of a familiar friend. Tanner came to a stop as a hand grasped his shoulder. "Took you long enough? I thought you'd never come." Tanner chuckled and placed his hand on top of his friend's. "I didn't mean to make you worry, but Lucas, you should know by now that I'd never miss a day." Lucas giggled, his shoulders shaking as he did so. "You're right. I shouldn't worry so much." He looked away for a moment, longingly staring at the edges of the glade. "I just wish you could come more often." Tanner placed his hands into his pockets. Walking towards the center of the glade, he dropped the strap of the backpack from one side, swinging it onto the ground next to the rock. Lucas stood behind him, peering over Tanner's shoulder as he unzipped the bag. The shuffling of various items caused Lucas' heart to flutter in excitement. "What did you bring this time?" He leaned over Tanner's shoulders to glance into the bag. Tanner shook him off and stood up. He took a step back and looked at his friend with a smile. Lucas's eyes sparkled as he saw what Tanner had in hand. "You fixed him!" He spun in circles, sending leaves into the air around him like pieces of confetti. Tanner smiled as he gently sat the plush rabbit against the base of the stone next to a wreath of flowers. Lucas ran forward to get a good look at it, grinning from ear to ear. He looked up at Tanner with pure joy. "Now you won't be lonely this November. You'll have a friend to talk to while I'm gone." He reached down and swung the backpack over his shoulder. "I'll be back next month. Then we can set up the Christmas tree." Tanner shivered slightly as he began making his way back towards the trees. "Hey!" Tanner turned. Lucas was sitting atop the stone, waving his hand at Tanner. "Tell Mom I love her." Tanner smiled warmly and nodded. "I will." The trees shivered in the breeze, swirling with the sound of chimes once more. The clearly trodden path appeared before Tanner, welcoming back to reality. The glade could only be reached on the first of each month, though he was the only one who even ventured out anymore.